Hello, welcome to Missing People's Psychic Readings. I'm Margaret. If you like the scribe, and put your thumbs up if you want. So I'm going to talk about the 5 NCIS: Sydney, Honolulu, New Orleans, Los Angeles, and the regional NCIS. Some of it will be about my pictures I draw. Some of you will know it. Some of you mine. 2 my predictions. And this thing's related to the shows. Pretty much be Los Angeles, but it'll be other stuff too. But 3 things I want to share with you. Yeah. 1, Dick's never going to introduce you to my sister. Kenzie, when you were cleaning in the hospital, have the pretty unicorns and rainbows. You know what I mean. Yeah. But thirdly, I want to share a story with you. About 5 months ago, I started a job in a factory, a place called Don. Works with me, in case you don't know. It's well known here in Australia and New Zealand. You've got a saying, Don is good. So you can look this up if you want on the internet with Don. But that's all right. So I'm in the factory. Same things like red when it's not working. This plastic thing. If it doesn't work, red. No one could hear me, right? So I'm talking to my boss about it. One of my bosses, I know, right? And she said, "You need to talk louder." Well, we both say I need to talk louder. So I say to her something along the line. I pretend partly deaf and I talk louder. So I do that, right? I talk louder. So right, that's fine and dandy. And I'll say about 4.5 months time ahead when I start watching Los Angeles. And I think it's the first year that Diggs comes into the show, right? He gets shot. Everyone thinks it's connected to him. He's in hospital, you know, that kind of stuff. And at the end of the episode, Dix works out it's Kenzie. She's the one in danger, not him. So he screams out, "Kenzie." And so he screams out, "Kenzie," I think of Reb. So I think, like that, right? So I think it's quite fun. I'll share this with you because but 2 things. We kind of do it. We all muck around with this one with me, with Reb. But 2 days ago, I'm at work and we were mucking around doing whatever. And I go scream at Reb, right? And I go to the lady next to me. I just feel like I want to say Kenzie. I want to swing out the Kenzie. So I thought I'd share that with you because I think that's quite funny. So I'm just going to share that with you. I just thought, yeah, I need to share that with you. But 2, like I said, I want to talk about my pictures after all that. So, like I said, I done this picture in 2019 with the other picture. And I still think it's connected to Indy, but to Los Angeles too. The reason I say this, I'm watching another episode of NCIS, Los Angeles. And it was the one where they had to lock down the whole building site because someone put nice purple flowers on Kenzie's desk. No one knows what it's about, but they put the purple flowers on Kenzie's desk. And Eddie, the lady in charge, I think that's how you say her name, realised it's a poison flowers. And everyone can die from it, right? So they lock it all down. But I'm looking at this flower and I'm thinking, I wonder if that's connected to the flower that I drew for Indy. Yeah, because they're kind of, I don't know, when I enjoyed it, I thought, do I colour it in or leave it? Well, I'll leave it because if I colour it in, I'll ruin it. So I thought, that's really interesting. At the start, I wasn't going to do a pot plant, but I did a bottom of the pot plant, if you can see. So that's really interesting stuff. Yeah, and with the leaves and that, I wasn't going to do that. I was just going to do the flowers. So I thought that's really interesting. So that's okay. That's fine. So watching it, that's fine. And it comes to the episode where Dix dives into a pool to save Sam, right? because the people tries to get Sam, and Diggs thinks Sam's wife is undercover, right? So just before that, it was when I think it was Giz and Kenzie is up on the mountain looking down to this house where he has to save Sam, right? And I'm watching and I go, oh, Kenzie got a crooked eye. And if you realize, remember watching my RBU channel, talk about the eye, the crooked, one's crooked, or that person's, she's looking towards something, yeah? And I thought, I wonder that's connected to Kenzie, the eye, because Kenzie has a crooked eye. Don't know what's wrong with her eye, don't look into stuff like that, but she has a crooked eye, so I think maybe, right? So that's okay. I'm watching it and see the mountains and that behind. I thought, mountains, yeah? Yeah. So that's okay. 30 seconds later, I think Kenzie was just talking too much. I think I could be wrong, but Kenzie was just doing something like that, all right? So Dix goes over to her. I think he runs towards her or something like that, and he kisses her. And I thought to myself, yeah, romantic love. Yeah, so I thought, yeah, because that's one that romantic. No, love, I put in love in this. And I go, that's love, eyes, straight hair. Yeah, could be. There's something in that, right? So that's okay. So move forward to Stan. I think it was Stan where Kenzie goes to Stan look for this person called White Ghost. Yeah. Mountains, bit of grass, a bit of snow, I think it was. I could be wrong there. The two going through the whole romantic thing with Geese and Kenzie. She's got straight hair, you know, there's planes there. Yeah, so I thought, yeah, could be connected, very much connected to that. To a point, I'm watching it and I thought to myself, because if you remember in my other YouTube channel with this picture, I wonder if someone was thinking of a male. I thought it was going to be a male in this picture. And then when I was watching it, because she gets kidnapped in this episode, and through these episodes, and I think to myself, I wonder if they got Ruger was thinking of putting a male in instead of a female in this episode when the person goes there, Stan. So that's what my thought was in that. So I thought that's interesting. But moving forward, so you've got the Estons and the mountains. I think there was a plane in it. I could be wrong, but I think there was a plane in it. But then moving forward, there's another episode, and they catches this guy. I think it's related to a war thing. I could be wrong here, but they're on the plane. Kenzie Diggs, what's his name? Callum and Sam are all on the plane with this guy, right? They're taking this guy back home, but the plane gets shot, right? And this is actually a plane, right? So they get shot, and she goes into a coma. And when she's in the coma, Dick's supposed to her. Well, that's really interesting. Again, romantic love, yeah. And I can see a lot of people liking this episode, right? So that's interesting. I thought, And somewhere through this, I get the name in the show. They talk about a person called Mary. How that was I got a name called Mary. So I thought, yeah, very much so. Don't know if pilot is related to a pilot on a plane or a pilot of a show like Sydney, and that will lead into my predictions later. But I thought that's interesting. But I think important is probably two different things to me, because I'm watching the whole Los Angeles up to 1 to 13, okay? And I think it's more, for me, it's about trust, because there was another episode in it where Diggs and Kenzie's on the boat, and this was before they were holding this baby. There's another one, an episode where they're holding a baby, singing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," right? But they're on a boat and they're looking into a finding a lady who had a baby, right? I didn't know this at the start, but at the start, I get this song again, "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," and I thought, related to something at work. Nothing related to something at work. I stop it before I get right into it. So I'll go and check my mail, comes back, and this theme of the shows ended. Okay, so they get into the whole baby thing. But yep, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, can sing it, right? Nothing major, but I thought this is interesting. I think it's more about, for me, important stuff. It's in trusting myself. Know what I'm doing, and yeah, just trusting myself, because there were other things before this came along, before I watched the show, where I had a missing person, and to this day, just 3 things happen. Doing a reading on this missing person, I get digs in my head, and get a show called Flipper. It's a Australian show. It's about 30 years old, probably longer. It's a pretty old show. And I'm wondering, why do I have this song in my head? Never watched the show, not to me, but it's an Australian show. And then I realised the meaning of Flipper. It's actually related to a dolphin. It's about intelligence, trusting yourself, believing. And this was where I got this song in my head around the missing person with kids. And the week after that, I started watching Los Angeles. So, yeah, I think that's about trust in that with me. But I do feel like it's connected to NCIS, the whole vibe for some reason. And I think this is where this comes into it. My predictions comes into it, because I feel like this is where I think it might be important, and knowing what I say and do myself, it affects people, yeah. And this is why I'm saying this, because I feel like this is another reason I'm putting this out here on YouTube. 2 days ago, I watched this thing on YouTube about NCIS, Los Angeles and Sydney, and the saying Los Angeles got axed over Sydney. And I must admit, if it was me, I'd be upset with this too. But I actually don't think it actually got axed. I have to admit, this is where my predictions comes into it. Where this bit isn't, but it's kind of goes into it, okay? Because I feel like what's happening with Los Angeles, they stopped it because of Sydney, but they haven't acted the Los Angeles show. What I think they've done, what they did with Neighbours. I don't know if you get it in America, Neighbours, Kylie Minogue, Jason Donovan, Paul Robeson, Lucy, them kind of people, yeah. And if you get it in, I've got a funny feeling you might have this on SBS, because we get the whole NCIS episodes, phrase, the one we have with you guys, Mork and Mindy, Miriam, they all connect to our 10. So I reckon our 10 shows will be connected to your SBS if you get it over there. So what happened with Neighbours, I think it was February last year, I could be wrong here, February last year, they said they're going to exit, leave it, going to go off in April, I think it was. And about 2 months later, I think it was 2 months later, they're saying they're going to put it on, what do you call it, Amazon, pay TV, Amazon, and it's going to go back on Channel 10. Yeah, and I think that's what they're going to do with Los Angeles. They're going to bring that back on. And I think it's all connected to Sydney. but in a good way. I think they're just waiting for whatever and then bring it back on. Granted, I haven't seen Los Angeles 14, the season 14 yet, so I don't know much about it. I know what's his name? Callum's getting married. Sounds like kids and Ken's having a baby. That's pretty much it. That's all I know about it. Yeah. So yeah, I think it is going to come back on, and this is where my big Texan's going to come into it. I do feel like Dix can see, maybe in Callum, Tony Seaver, Diggs, Gibbs, Jeffrey O. Gibbs, what's in it, Palmer, and Pryor from New Orleans, and the lady in charge of Honolulu, and the other lady under her, the one with the curly black hair. I only watched the one season of Honolulu, so I don't know much about it, but the one with the curly black hair, quite long. I think they're all going to come down to Sydney. They're going to be on Sydney NCIS, I reckon. Just certain things, like there's an episode where Diggs, the guy in charge in NCIS, him and Seba goes in the car and they drive off. Yeah, I reckon that's part of Sydney. There's another episode where we haven't got it here in Australia yet, where you see Tony Receiver with their child. I haven't seen that yet, so I'm assuming that's all connected to Sydney. And there's certain episodes in Los Angeles where I can't remember why they're in this house and they got this big electric thing. It's one of them ones when you touch it, it moves, yeah? And they're trying to stop it. I don't know why they're trying to stop it, but they're trying to stop it. And Diggs goes to Kenzie, if we say alive, we're going to Australia. Well, I don't know, they're putting a season, a show on. So I do feel like it's connected all together. And into this point where I see in one of my dreams, I see a white building with a young boy around grass, and I bend down to talk to this young boy. I even think maybe they're all connected to that too. Yeah. So I thought I would share this all with you because I think it's interesting. I don't know what's so important is for them. To this day, I don't know why. Yeah, because and it's funny thing about this. I was trying to look up this picture with Kenzie when she was in Lost. That's saying looking for the white guys, and this one bit where she's talking through a car. She's outside talking through the car, and it pretty much reminds me of this picture. And I wish I had that picture to show you because it was a pretty good picture. But I do think it's connected to that. So I thought that's really interesting in itself. So to me, and this was in 2019, and I was looking at the season, it was season 5, sorry. So it would have been, for America, it would have been 2013 and 14 maybe, and it has to be probably 14, 15, something like that. I don't know why, because we're normally high in America because it's an American show, yeah. So I thought to myself, in that, like, that's 5 years after it happened, and I had no idea of it, and I'm passing it on to a Channel 10, or yeah, it is a Channel 10 show person. So I thought that's really interesting. In itself, I never watched it before that. I think I started to watch it. I watched about 10 episodes in 2020, and that's pretty much it. I had no idea. It was one where Eddie, the person in charge in Los Angeles, she gets kidnapped well, I think she gets kidnapped anyway. And Eddie, the guy that's the technology guys, has a dream about her, and he's in a what do you call it? An egg. I call it eggplant. I think it is called an eggplant. Costume. So yeah, that one, and what was the other one? I think that was pretty much it actually. We watched bits and pieces of ours, but not together. Yeah, so that I found that really interesting. Had no idea. So watched something, had a dream about something about 5 years after it happened. Had no idea of it, and then a year after realised what it was about. Yeah, so I thought that's really interesting. It's kind of happened what happened with Tony Seaver, where I saw her in bed, and this was then it would have been two. It would have been but 3 or 4 years later, realised what it was about. So yeah, really interesting. So I don't know what's important is it for them. Yeah, for me, it's probably more a variety of who I am and trusting what I do. Perfect example, like I said, with Gates and Kenzie when they go on a boat. I'm watching the ad thing of it, and I stop for some reason, go and check the mail, come back, watch the theme of the show, and then I see them with a baby, like the baby wrapped up in towels. BefI see that, I think Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I'm thinking connected to something else where it's connected to that. So it's more of a trust thing, I feel like. It's more trust. And just go with the flow. And as Hindu would say, be very patient with it. Just go with it. Just don't really look into it. Just go with it. And if it's important, you know it. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to share that with you because I thought it's really interesting how it planned out. Just in everything. There's a lot more to this. And I might share it with you one day, but there's a lot more to it. And yeah, it's just really interesting. Like I could write a book about this one, I must admit. So many reasons why. But before I share it, see what you think is how do you feel like Los Angeles not act? I really don't think it is. I think it's on hold for a bit, then it will come back on. I think maybe I could be wrong, but maybe New Orleans might come back on too. Who knows? But I do feel like Los Angeles will be coming back on. I think it's just who know why, but yeah, I think it will come back on. But I'll leave that with you now. I'll hope you like it. Tell me what your thoughts are. Yeah, and I'm still trying my best. And like I said, kids, want to introduce you to my sister. But in Kenzie, I hope they did rainbows and unicorns for you when you were a cleaner. So, see you later. Thumbs up, subscribe if you want. Bye.